The moment is nearly here. It is time to go racing. An immediate spin into the barriers for the VCOM.
Oh my word, big crash.
And a huge amount of debris. The new season is underway, and it's a good reaction time for Max Verstappen. Little bit of a wiggle when he applied the power for the second part of the start, but he maintains the lead. Charles Leclerc trying to go around the outside. How brave is he feeling? He's not. He's in second place, and it's Sergio Perez who finds himself in fourth. George Russell is in third place. The spinner was Lance Stroll in the background for Aston Martin. It's Max Verstappen with the lead.
Well, he got off the line really well, so he was feeling racy as he ran to turn one.
So that's Hulkenberg is cleared, and then they're going to have contact. That's what's going to happen. Hulkenberg's going to hit the back. And round he goes.
Yeah, so Stroll immediately took the place, and then Nico had a nose down on the inside. This will be the better shot of it. That's the Aston Martin ahead. He's got his teammate already. There's 5 places difference between those two on the grid. And, oh, that's all on Hulkenberg, isn't it? Just drifted into the back and completely rear-ended Stroll.
Yeah, that wasn't even as if he was locked up and just like really overspeeding the corner. It was almost like he just rammed him at the apex there. Great getaway from Valtteri. You can see Hulkenberg on his left. He backs out of it.
Hulkenberg goes slowly, not slowly enough, tips Stroll into a spin, which slows him up even more, and then Bottas into the back of Hulkenberg.
The Saudi Grand Prix is underway, and it's a good launch off the line for both Red Bulls. Charles Leclerc is under threat now for second place. Verstappen leads. Perez will get his nose ahead. Perez will get second place. Charles Leclerc's got the grippy line. Has he got the room to fight back as they all make their way through the first corners of the first lap? It's Verstappen, but Charles Leclerc fights back into second position. He went aggressive and he maintains P2. That's Behrman off the road as he begins life in Formula One, slightly on the defensive. It's Verstappen, Leclerc, Perez, Alonso, Piastri and Norris, the top 6.
Well managed from Leclerc in those opening corners. Perez looked like he had got the job done, but Leclerc swept back around the outside of turn 2, which he can do because it gives him the inside for 4, and he made it stick. The rest of it looks fairly unchanged further back, but I'm pretty sure Lando Norris jumped the start.
Yeah, Behrman there trying to go up the inside. Sorry, Alex, that was great, instinctive stuff. Didn't manage to convert it, but didn't you just love the fact he saw a gap and he stuck his nose in there?
The racing driver instinct kicking into gear. We'll have a look. Gasly's being told that he has to come into the pits immediately. He looks like he'll be the first retirement of the entire season. They all finished the first race of the year. So Verstappen, Leclerc, Perez, Alonso and Piastri make the top 5 unchanged, but Behrman looked to the inside of 13. He's all over the back of Yuki Tsunoda, trying to make the pass on the Japanese driver in that scarlet Ferrari as he has joined this team's illustrious history, and Tsunoda feels the need to go defensive. That's the difference between medium tyres and soft tyres, an RB and a Ferrari, and Behrman is starting his Formula One career on the front foot, but he's got to remember to stay to the right side of the line as around the outside goes Oscar Piastri on Fernando Alonso to take 4th place, and they're fighting all the way by as Behrman had to hobble all over the curb to keep his front wing.
Well, I tell you what, he gets 11 out of 10 for bravery. He's not treating this like his first Grand Prix.
And Formula One is underway in Melbourne. Good reaction time at the front of the field for Carlos Sainz, but his path is blocked by Max Verstappen, who has the lead. Norris maintains 3rd, Verstappen, Sainz, and then it is Lando Norris. A clean route through for all of those in the field. It'll be 19 now that Zhou Guanyu joins the race. It's Verstappen with the getaway that he needed. Then it's Sainz, Norris, Leclerc stayed ahead of Piastri. It's getting very, very tight between Perez and George Russell, and it's Russell who finds his way to hang on to the place. He moves up to 6th position, Perez down to 7th. It's as you were ahead.
Yeah, that's our highest position change there as Russell swept around. Perez had the place into the first couple of corners, but Russell then coming through, and that gives Perez even more of a headache trying to make it through for a chance for a podium. So Checo with a lot of work to do now. This is where Perez loses the place then to Russell. Perez on the inside, Russell sweeps around the outside from a long way back. Checo very cautious, and it's costing him a decent amount of race time now being stuck behind that Mercedes.
And the Japanese Grand Prix is underway. Max Verstappen gets the launch off the line he was looking for. Alonso did get a good jump but couldn't do anything with it. Side by side we go with the McLaren and the Ferrari. Lando Norris is in third. It's as you were. Verstappen, Perez, Norris, then Sainz. And Fernando Alonso couldn't make it work on those soft tyres. He remains in fifth as they make their way through and off into the wall. Off into the wall goes the two cars and a big crash into the tyre barrier. That is a contact for a Williams in the middle of the racetrack. It is Daniel Ricciardo, it is Alex Albon, and it is a yellow flag at the start of this one. That barrier will need repairing and will have to neutralise the race.
Yeah, it's going to be an immediate safety car then. It's heavy impact for Ricciardo and Albon. Yeah, red flag, that's the understandable thing. Where is Ricciardo? Right in that midfield zone behind his teammate there. Albon's just behind him. They're going to come together at this stage here. And yeah, so Albon's gone onto the grass very, very early as Ricciardo's moving across. I think there was someone on the inside as well. And yeah, Albon's just been squeezed out towards the grass. This is going to be the angle here with Alex Albon then on the soft tyre. Tsunoda gets a really poor launch and is coming back towards Alex Albon at the start. That's Daniel Ricciardo now in front of us. So Albon then gets a decent chance to come alongside, and there's the touch. So there was the driver on the inside of Ricciardo. Albon was sort of aiming towards a space that was closing.
Alex Albon is going to be to the right-hand side of us. There's the touch. There's the end of the race for the Australian driver. The Chinese Grand Prix is underway, and Max Verstappen gets the launch he needs to chop across Sergio Perez. Fernando Alonso, does he feel brave to sweep around the outside of the Mexican driver? Gets the jump at the moment. Is the grip there? Alonso's being really brave, but the grip runs out. He's got the inside line. He's got second position. He moves past Perez as Verstappen holds the lead, but look at the traction that Alonso's got fighting the car. It is Verstappen, Alonso, then Perez. We're on board with fourth place Lando Norris.
Alonso was working so hard to bring those tyres to life on the warm-up lap, and it's paid off. The commitment and confidence he had around the outside of turn one was staggering. Thought he was going to have a look at P1 for a minute as well.
Oh, that really was an aggressive start by the driver in the green Aston Martin. Lando Norris chasing down Perez. Perez did not enjoy racing in the pack earlier on. And if you're thinking, who's that in the Haas? That is Nico Hülkenberg, up 2 places. A poor getaway for both Ferraris. Leclerc down to 8th, Sainz down to 9th. Let's go back to the start of the Grand Prix when Fernando Alonso in the green Aston Martin went the long way round to take second place.
He had a lot of work to do, but he just committed to that outside line, and that's a similar bit of track to the bit that Lando was on yesterday. And he just said, well, I think there's going to be grip. I'm happy with the tyres. I'm going to go for it. And it was just such confidence. We can see again on board. Very similar reaction time. Perez has still got the march on him, but he can't do much tucked in behind his teammate on the inside. And there was a moment where Fernando then jumps on the throttle. There's a moment he thought about the race lead there.
And the Miami Grand Prix is underway. Poor start for Charles Leclerc. Through goes Carlos Sainz. Max Verstappen maintains the lead. Oh, he was nearly hit by his teammate. That was so close. Sergio Perez went to the inside. He momentarily took second, but he went deep into the first turn, and that very nearly was contact between the two Red Bulls. They got away with it, though. Down to 5th goes Sergio Perez. Max Verstappen leads. Then it's Leclerc. Oscar Piastri, the big winner. He is up 3 places to 3rd. Sainz is 4th. Then Perez. My word, that was dramatic into turn number 1 as they tried to make their way through the first of 57 laps, but Perez was millimetres away from striking his teammate, went to the inside line of that first turn. No grip, dirty, dusty, and he very nearly made contact. They got away with it. There is your race leader Verstappen. Then it's Leclerc. Then it's the papaya McLaren of Oscar Piastri, who's up 3 places, and Sergio Perez's heart will be pounding. He's still in the race, but he's lost a place along with Sainz and Norris.
What you really want to do is look at the left-hand side. The Red Bull of Sergio Perez, super late on the brakes, but just too much so. That slow start from the Ferrari really threw him off. And look at Piastri just capitalizing on everyone having to check up for Checo going through there and riding around the outside of turn 2. Let's go on board now with Perez.
Yeah, it looks like he's got cards on the top of his helmet. He went all in and almost all the way into his teammate. He will never be so lucky again.
And the Grand Prix is underway. Even reaction time at the front of the field. Lando Norris is going to try and put the pressure on. Max Verstappen holds the lead. The two Ferraris side by side. Who's going to lead into turn number 1? It's going to be Max Verstappen, who's ahead of Lando Norris, and it's grid order for the top 4. Oscar Piastri still in 5th position. No change for anyone until you look all the way back down to Lewis Hamilton, who's up to 7th position, gaining a couple of places as well as Hulkenberg. It was a poor getaway for Yuki Tsunoda. He dropped down to 9th. Perez made a place on those hard tyres as they make their way through the opening corners of the Grand Prix fairly cleanly. The top 5 as they were when they left the grid. Max Verstappen leads.
Go on board with Hulkenberg, another good top 10 qualifying, and gets that initial launch. And he'll be thinking, thank you very much.
This is Lance Stroll up against Ocon. They were going into Tosa corner, Jolien.
Yeah, a little bit of wheel banging. This was on the opening lap as well, and Ocon was run quite wide on the exit, but he is still ahead of Lance Stroll at the end of that. Just a bit of wheel to wheel.
And the Monaco Grand Prix is underway. We get the launch from the line from Charles Leclerc. He's going to maintain the lead. Could be 2nd place for Ferrari. They go side by side with Piastri and Sainz duking it out. But the Australian driver kept 2nd place. The top 4, the top 5 as they were, as Leclerc gets the launch that he needed. But is that a problem? Is that an issue? Looks like the sparks out of the back of the car for Sainz. He has got a problem. He's off and he's out. Carlos Sainz on the opening lap. Was the wheel banging between those two, because the Spanish driver is out on the opening lap of the Grand Prix.
There must have been a touch then. Sainz and Piastri. Piastri was so brave at the first corner, hanging it around the outside. The wall then pinches in on the exit, and there must have been a slight touch between them.
Watch Piastri. Watch Oscar Piastri in 2nd place. He's all over the back of the Scarlet Ferrari, trying to chase his way by. Can he force his way past to the Nouvelle chicane? Would have been bold, but the McLaren firing up their tyres so quickly. One Ferrari out immediately, and the red flag is flying on lap 1 of 78.
This is the touch then for Sainz. Oh, it's a little one, but just carbon fibre there of the edge of the floor for Piastri, and Sainz knows he's got a puncture immediately.
Yeah, you can see that tyre deflating and locking up.
Look further back. Perez heavily into the wall, collects one Haas, and then the second one has nowhere to go. That is so unusual to see on the opening lap here in Monaco.
He's defending his position. He is then hit from the rear.
Oh my word, that is a massive accident.
Yeah, big crash, and thankfully all of the drivers able to get out of their car.
Magnussen's going to be on the right-hand side. That's where the contact is going to be.
Well, I mean, Magnussen will say that Perez should have given him a bit more space to go side by side up there. There's the gap, and he's already touched the wall himself and then just keeps his foot in. It's just totally unnecessary. And again, this is from the back of the grid in Monaco.
We're on board with Pierre Gasly. That is Esteban Ocon chancing one at Portier. The two Alpines come together. And the Canadian Grand Prix is underway. They crawl off the line with George Russell chopping across Max Verstappen as they make their way to turn number 1. The plumes of spray are raised and the top 4 are in the same position. Fernando Alonso gets past Daniel Ricciardo to the apex of turn 2. A huge amount of standing water on the racetrack as they squeeze the throttle. The only change was Alonso up to 5th. The top 4 in the order that they left the line. We've got drama behind momentarily with the yellow flag. They're now beginning to feel out the conditions here in Montreal.
Alonso's on the prowl. Piastri fighting the car coming through turn 5. There's the lingering spray, and the difficulty right now is just immense. Piastri into turn 6, still ahead of Fernando Alonso, who made the gain. So too has Lewis Hamilton come past Daniel Ricciardo as well. So Ricciardo, great qualifying yesterday. He's dropped back a couple of positions, and Leclerc's up in the top 10.
The cars are squirming all over the road. Magnussen on the full wet tyre just went around the outside of Alexander Albon. He's up to 11th place. That full wet working at the moment because it is really wet out there, and the drivers are struggling to apply the power.
Well, Magnussen's the driver to make the most of it on an opening lap. He's always so aggressive, and in the back of shot you can see him having a look on the Ferrari as well.
Oh, and deep into the corner goes the Ferrari. and that looks like Charles Leclerc losing a position as Magnussen has gone up the order here. It's working for him at this stage. He's up 5 places from where he started the Grand Prix on that full wet tyre.
So it looks genius right now, the full wet, but he's got to take it a long way, and again he's side by side with Stroll for the top 8 now.
Magnussen carving through the field. George Russell is your leader, ahead of Verstappen, off the road, ahead and dropping down the order we go. That is the Ferrari slipping back. Sainz is down there in 14th. Charles Leclerc finds himself down to 10th. Magnussen is going all the way to the front of the field as it stands. He's passing people for fun, and he's up 7 places from where he started.
It is so fun when you're in this position as a Haas driver, trying to charge your way through. Both of them making good gains. 7 places for Magnussen, 5 for Hülkenberg.
And the Spanish Grand Prix is underway. Lando Norris immediately trying to deal with Max Verstappen. He tries to chop across, but what a launch off the line that was from the World Championship leader, who's going to have an opportunity to go to the inside. Who's bravest on the brakes? Oh my word, around the outside to take the lead. George Russell, what a start. That is absolutely incredible stuff. We were watching Norris, we were watching Verstappen, but Russell somehow goes from 4th on the grid to the lead. He has moved up 3 places in the opening 600 metres of the race. Then it's Max Verstappen in 2nd. Our pole sitter, Lando Norris, drops to 3rd. Hamilton is in 4th. Ferraris 5th and 6th, as they all tried to make their way through the first lap, and it was very close for Sergio Perez and Nico Hülkenberg. They got away with it, DC.
Yeah, remember that moment, ladies and gentlemen. It was all in, full commitment, and he made the apex. Wow, absolutely brilliant from George Russell. I think Max will have been thinking, well, I got in front of Lando, but hold on a minute, I'm staring at the rear wing of a Mercedes.
Dive bomb move attempted by Lance Stroll, and then on the power, a big moment for Valtteri Bottas. It allows Stroll to go around the outside. Still they go side by side, both on the soft tyre, and Bottas pays for that wide moment on the exit of turn 10. What an opening few metres of the Spanish Grand Prix.
Yeah, you see Max just got that initial drive off the line, on the grass actually, as he's trying to give enough space for Lando. And as these 2 guys are going wheel to wheel, George gets a mega toe, full commitment, and around the outside. His initial start wasn't that good, but at this point, he's now picking up a double slipstream. And the deployment on that Mercedes, and in the commitment here, Alex, absolutely brilliant. Leaves a little bit of room through 1, just in case one of those cars is getting in the way.
And the Austrian Grand Prix is underway. Perfect reaction time for Max Verstappen. He's got what he needed off the line. George Russell will put pressure on Lando Norris, but the top 3 were as they were. That was brave around the outside for Lewis Hamilton, but did he overtake off the road when he was battling Carlos Sainz? They'll work it out later. Up for 2nd place we go, with George Russell momentarily ahead, but Lando Norris with the inside line. Can Hamilton get the job done against Carlos Sainz? He can, but there'll be a question of whether he did so off the road. Max Verstappen checking out front as Oscar Piastri goes wheel to wheel with Sergio Perez. It's Verstappen, then Norris, Russell, Hamilton up a place, Sainz down 1, and Piastri climbed up to 6th position.
Perfect start once again for Verstappen. Piastri is ushered wide to the gravel. He's going to lose a place to Leclerc as well, and Perez has made 2 places in that, right down in 6th place.
So Perez now into 6th position. Leclerc gets through as Piastri is in trouble, but they're still going side by side. The McLaren and the Ferrari further up the picture were wheel to wheel there doing battle, and we found ourselves with Piastri fighting back and taking that position. Damage for Charles Leclerc.
Yeah, it looked like there was side by side action between him and Piastri going through 6 and 7, so we're about to find out exactly what is it. It looks like he might be front wing.
Let's see on board with Leclerc now. That's his teammate ahead, Hamilton on the side. Leclerc gets the whack with Piastri then, and Piastri's lucky to not have damage from that hit with Leclerc as well.
Lights out, away we go. George Russell gets a good getaway. Lewis Hamilton tucks in behind. Watch out for Max Verstappen on the inside of Lando Norris behind. But George Russell comfortably through the first corner into turns 2 and 3. And Verstappen has to keep a little bit of an eye on Piastri behind him. Lando Norris now putting pressure on Hamilton, but runs a wheel over the curve. Verstappen's got the outside line. That works really well for Max Verstappen. He gets in front of the McLaren.
And he's going to have a chance of passing Lewis Hamilton immediately as well. Lewis checks the mirror down the Wellington straight here towards Brooklands. and he doesn't need to go defensive. Verstappen, though, has made a crucial pass there on Norris.
Yeah, that is absolutely crucial. It was a clean pass too, after all the incidents they had last time out in Austria, but Norris is not going to give up. Piastri's right there with them. I tell you what, though, this is good pace immediately from the Mercedes. Both George Russell and Lewis Hamilton are easing away a little bit, if anything.
Well, it's early days yet. Russell sweeps into Copse. Hamilton is right with him as they turn in. Super fast corner, and now they're into the adrenaline action of this Silverstone lap. Copse, Maggots and Beckett sweeping through the high speed, and look, Hamilton is able to stay really close in the dirty air, applying pressure to his teammate, and Verstappen's going with him. Then there's a slight bigger break to Lando Norris. Now let's have a look. Norris goes to the outside of Hamilton. Verstappen is on his apex. Norris is a little bit wide, and then he just gets blocked in behind Lewis Hamilton on the inside of turn 4, and it's a nice position for Verstappen to sweep around the outside. A lovely move from Max, and he manages to clear what could be his biggest rival in this Grand Prix. Almost had an overlap straight away as he released the clutch like he did in Barcelona.
Yeah, it was very effective, as you say, an incredibly important move to make. Let's have a look from the onboard view.
Yeah, Lando just puts himself in a bit of a precarious position there with Lewis Hamilton, nowhere near alongside to commit to that on the outside.
And the Hungarian Grand Prix is underway. Lando Norris chops across his teammate, but it's a good reaction time for Oscar Piastri. The two cars go side by side with Piastri down to the inside. Verstappen trying to go the long way round. Piastri takes the lead of the race. Lando Norris in second. Verstappen off the road as he rejoins, having gone off all four wheels. Trying to take advantage and take second place is Lewis Hamilton. Verstappen funnels wide Lewis Hamilton. Oscar Piastri leads. Lando Norris retakes third.
Brave from Norris round the outside at turn 3 on the dusty stuff, but he's lost out. Brilliant start from Piastri, who managed to just get that Verstappen start from Barcelona and stop Lando coming through. I'm interested, DC, in Verstappen taking second, going so far off the road. What do you reckon?
Well, look, FIA normally take the view, as we hear from Lando.
Max has to give the position. We're on it.
Yeah, look, they're right to make that call, but also, as you know, Julian, the FIA tend to take a sort of more relaxed view on the first couple of corners. We both know in our heart that he's tried to run it round the outside, realised it's not going to work, and then he's floored it out on that runoff area to take advantage. But what a start for Oscar Piastri, and as we were teeing up ahead of the Grand Prix, he needed to do that to assert himself on this race. Yeah, his initial getaway, they were actually about nip and tuck, but I think it was that next phase of, you know, controlling wheel spin and short shifting initially, where he just forced himself up the inside. We said he had to be assertive. Now there's Max there, marginally ahead. And in fairness, he does open the steering, but Julian, as we both know, he does that so he can keep his foot floored on the escape road.
Yeah, he's lined it up from before. He's gone in late on the brakes. You'll see it with Norris now, who's already lost the place on the inside. He's exactly like Barcelona for him. Now he's got to look to the outside, and there comes Max steaming round the outside. Lando could have done the same thing to his teammate, technically, and just kept it pinned, used the runoff area like Max has done. But he was fairer in that example, backed off, accepted that he wasn't going to take the position.
Well, Lando may regret not doing Michael Schumacher on Rubens Barrichello at that very point, where he, if you remember, if it wasn't for the end of the pit lane, Rubens, I think, would have had a sizable scuff mark on the side of his car.
And Formula One is underway for the Belgian Grand Prix. Great start for Lewis Hamilton. He's up to second place. He's immediately past Sergio Perez. Charles Leclerc holds the lead. The two McLarens are side by side, and it's onto the gravel in the background for Lando Norris. Gives an opportunity to George Russell. Side by side we go with Lewis Hamilton and Sergio Perez into Eau Rouge. No, Hamilton's ahead. He gets the move completed. Leclerc, then Hamilton, then Perez, then Piastri. Wide moment for Lando Norris. Cost him places. Max Verstappen up one position to 10th place as Perez fights back, looking to reclaim second position. Charles Leclerc has the lead for the moment. Can George Russell go around the outside of the McLaren? So close. It is Leclerc, then Hamilton, then Perez, the top three.
Norris losing 3 positions at the start, running wide into the gravel, and look, just behind him, Max Verstappen has gained a couple of places already. So there's only 2 cars between Norris and Verstappen at this early stage. Leclerc leads, and he was really helped out by Hamilton's good start, getting ahead of Sergio Perez. They were watching each other down the Kemmel Straight, which helped Leclerc not need to defend, and he remains in first place. Let's have a look at Norris on the outside in the McLaren. Has loads of space, but just wanders off the road.
It's a strange one, and it cost him. Through went Russell, and then there was a real momentum lost there. That's how Ocon fell back a couple of places. He just got blocked by Norris rejoining the racetrack. Albon through, and so was Fernando Alonso. And the Dutch Grand Prix is underway. What sort of reaction is it? It's a poor start for Lando Norris, and Max Verstappen takes the lead. Once again, Norris has not found the launch he was looking for, and the home hero hits the front of the field. George Russell is up to third position. It's Verstappen, then Norris, then Russell, as the field try to make their way through the first turns on the racetrack for the first time to the inside low line for Piastri. Can't make it work. It's Verstappen, then Norris, then Russell.
Yeah, well, that's the worst case scenario for Lando Norris there, and also George Russell licking his chops, because I think that Oscar must have got boxed in, and he's taken advantage of that.
Yeah, neither McLaren got away particularly well. Lando just went nowhere as soon as the lights went out. Looked like he got too much wheel spin immediately, and Max was clean and dry into the lead.
Listen to what the crowd make of that.
So, lights go out. Norris's reaction is good, but he just goes nowhere in that first phase of the launch, and he is already cleanly behind Verstappen. You can see Russell and Piastri side by side, Perez having a nose in and passing Charles Leclerc. But that launch for Norris was just, the reaction was fine, but the clutch drop, the revs, something was out of kilter.
And the Italian Grand Prix is underway. Lando Norris is looking at his teammate, and he's got the launch that he needs. But George Russell is still a contender. Second and third are battling. Piastri blocks out Russell. Lando Norris has got to the front. Russell goes onto the grass and over the road. He momentarily takes the lead, but he'll have to feather it back. McLaren finally get the start they needed from Lando Norris. It's Lando Norris, Oscar Piastri. Russell loses out as a result of going over the road at turn number 1. It's Charles Leclerc, then Carlos Sainz, as the McLarens are side by side, and Oscar Piastri's going all the way around the outside to take the lead with a bold and brilliant move. Lando still can't keep the lead on lap number 1, and he's lost second place to Charles Leclerc.
I can't believe what I've just seen. Absolutely brilliant stuff from Oscar Piastri, who knows that if he's running anywhere near his teammate, that McLaren have to start thinking big picture. He now changes that completely by leading this Grand Prix.
That could be move of the season. That was extraordinary from Piastri on his teammate, round the outside, low downforce, low grip, and he's into the race lead.
Big gravel there between the two Haas cars as they scrabble all over the road, and that's Hülkenberg losing positions and dropping down the order. Magnussen gets by, Gasly gets by, and there's a tear-off caught maybe somewhere.
The front wing, I think. Is it George Russell? Does he have a front flap damage?
One of the more extraordinary starts to the season, and it looked like Lando Norris had finally got the start that he needed, but the grandstands are going wild.
Lewis didn't leave the car switch. I mean, I got the penalty for that, so...
Russell is heading backwards, might be about to lose another position, trying to keep Perez at bay. He does keep Perez at bay. Let's all have a deep breath and tell you that Oscar Piastri is the leader. Then it's Charles Leclerc. Lando Norris down 2 places. Sainz up 1. Hamilton up 1. Max Verstappen wasn't happy with the tactic that were employed, and Charles Leclerc, who's won this Grand Prix in 2019 for Ferrari, is all over the back of Oscar Piastri.
Yeah, they were all off the line fairly in grid order. You can see Lewis Hamilton there coming on a tiny bit of contact with Carlos Sainz. RG as they go down into the first corner. Just watch George Russell, takes that avoiding action, so no contact at that point. And then that slalom, oh, he clips it. Yes, indeed, Jolene, he did clip that bollard, the second last one, and that could well be where that damage was, on board with George.
This gets very, very tight for George Russell then. He gets a good launch, but the McLarens lock out that inside path. Piastri then, he squeezes wide. And that is super tight there for Russell. Then this is, that's your slalom through there, and now you're just gunning it to get back on. Was it the bollard or was it the back of Piastri? Here's the sensational move, late on the brakes from Piastri. They go fairly, so close but fair between the two McLarens, and it's just a beautiful move from Piastri. No sign of team orders, quite clearly, for McLaren, and it cost Norris another position, the big lurid slide.
This is Hülkenberg, contact with Daniel Ricciardo, then he's going to scrape across the gravel, through goes Kevin Magnussen, and that put the dust on the racing line at that stage, and there is George Russell with the damage at that point of the line.
Yeah, brilliant hold there actually from Hülkenberg.
Formula One goes racing on the streets. Good reaction time for our pole sitter. Charles Leclerc has the lead in the turn number 1. Oscar Piastri is second. There was a lock-up for Sergio Perez, but he wasn't able to take third place away. How brave is he feeling into turn 2? There's your answer. Up to third position for Sergio Perez. Sainz falls down to 4th. It's a good getaway for Sergio Perez. Charles Leclerc has the lead, and then we're side by side further back.
And Verstappen made a place on George Russell as well. Russell trying to come back into turn 3, but he's too far back. Didn't have the fronts warmed up, and both Red Bulls are gaining places. Look at the two Red Bulls. On the inside there, Perez committed on the brakes down the inside. Verstappen likewise just behind. Perez is then going to do a nice job on Carlos Sainz here, who doesn't manage to cover the inside, and he sneaks through, as does Max Verstappen.
And the Singapore Grand Prix is underway. Good reaction time for Lando Norris, who will hold the lead down to the 90 metres to turn number 1. Good start for Lewis Hamilton, but Max Verstappen edged him out. Off the road in the background goes Fernando Alonso, who now rejoins along with Charles Leclerc. Did they keep the right-hand side of the bollard? Otherwise, race control will have a look. Top 3, top 4 as they were. Upper place on the opening lap goes Nico Hülkenberg, who is running in 5th position, but Lando Norris got the launch that he needed. Can he keep it all the way across the line on lap 1 for the first time in Formula 1 as Piastri tries to dive to the inside, and he takes back that place that he lost off the line.
There was a good launch from Norris this time. Verstappen couldn't get the traction down. And look at Hamilton, has the better start of the top 3. It's not enough, but he tries to go racing with Verstappen momentarily on the outside, cannot make it through. Russell and Piastri were very close as well, which gave Hülkenberg the door to come past the McLaren. And that was Hülkenberg briefly up into 5th place. We're going to get a nice shot of it now, looking back from George Russell starting 4th.
That's a nice angle, isn't it? You see the decision of the cars behind. Not as dusty on that inside line as maybe could be expected. And then look how dusty it is offline, though, as that Aston uses the escape road, followed by the Ferrari.
And the US Grand Prix is underway. Max Verstappen's going to give himself an opportunity into turn number 1, but Lando Norris is chopping across. There's the late lunge that Max Verstappen was looking for, but he sends Lando Norris wide, and through goes the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc. First and second battling each other, and they open the door for the driver in the scarlet car. He roars through, up 3 places to take the lead of this one, past his teammate, past the top 2 in the battle for the World Championship. Verstappen is in 2nd, Sainz is in 3rd, and Norris, our pole sitter, is down to P4.
How many times have we seen those two go wheel to wheel in a corner and have it go a little bit wrong for one or both? It was a great jump off the line from Leclerc anyway. I think he cleared Sainz, and then taking advantage of that opportunity presented by Verstappen, pushing Norris all the way out as we see them jockeying for position now out of turn 11 down this long back straight. Look at Lewis Hamilton already up a bunch of spots.
Lewis Hamilton is up 5 places in 12th position. Carlos Sainz, does he go super brave? The answer is yes, and now it's Verstappen off the road. He's been barged out of the way. Sainz feathers back the throttle because he knows he can't overtake him, having caused that action, but now at his favourite opportunity of all of them around the circuit, he's tried to go by to turn 15, all the while knowing that he can't do it too quickly because Verstappen would be complaining. All action start to this one in Austin.
I'll tell you what, trying to go on the outside of Max Verstappen rarely ends well for the driver on the outside. He can make that car very wide on an exit. Sainz being very methodical there, backing out of it, but man, what a lunge into 12. We've seen this a lot in the sprint race from Carlos. He is just on a different level of aggression this weekend, and it is phenomenal to see. I mean, you never really have to wonder with Max, do you? He's going for it, but it was that strong start from Leclerc that got him on the inside of Carlos going in to turn 1. You see the reaction time there. It was actually a slower reaction from Leclerc, but he just had a great launch.
Oh, Gasly and Piastri made contact into the sweepers. They were very lucky there.
And that was the original yellow flag. Ocon getting spun around there. A little bit of damage. Let's see on board now from the man that took the lead. 4th to 1st in 1 corner.
Off the line. Good launch, got an opportunity. The first turn here designed for overtaking. He knows at this stage where to position the car. Past his teammate, past the top 2 in the World Championship. Race lead for Charles Leclerc.
What was so heads up from that is he had Carlos Sainz right beside him, so even when he cut to the inside, he knew Carlos was close enough. He had to leave a car width between, as we see what happened here with Ocon. The Williams just had Hamilton making a move up the inside. Albon getting into the side of Ocon, and around he goes.
leave the line for the Mexican Grand Prix, and it's a good reaction time for Max Verstappen. He's got the inside line, he's got the momentum, he's surely going to get the lead. And now Lando Norris is going to try and power past Carlos Sainz as well. Verstappen has the inside line and the opportunity. How brave will Carlos Sainz be? An immediate spin into the barriers for the V-carb. Off the road goes Carlos Sainz to maintain the lead, and that will be an immediate intervention. It was hard into the Armco. It was a big moment into the barriers for Yuki Tsunoda. He was the driver involved there, and Carlos Sainz feels the need to give the place back to Max Verstappen, having jumped over the road. Verstappen the big winner. We might need an intervention there to neutralise the race, but it's Verstappen, then Sainz, then Norris, Leclerc. Hamilton got past Russell.
There will surely be a safety car for the V-carb in the wall. Sainz had to give up the place. He tried to go right round the outside, but he wasn't ahead at the apex. He wasn't ahead turning in after all the track limits. We had it on the first corner, but Carlos knows the rules.
The safety car is out. Yuki Tsunoda has said he was okay. There was contact as they were building up to the opening meters of the race. And that was a high-speed moment initially into the Armco on the left-hand side of the track.
Tsunoda's on your right-hand side. He's on the curb there, and Yuki holds his line. Alex is going to have the driver, maybe it's the Alpine of Pierre Gasly. They were all around the cusp of the top 10, squeezing across. So close there as well in that second chicane. Here we go with Yuki Tsunoda.
So Yuki is going to try and make his way past 9th place Alex Albon, and this gap is going to close.
So it's so tight, he's brushing the grass, then he goes for it on the brakes. It's an okay move, I think, from Yuki, but the problem is, Albon has a car on his inside. I think it was Nico Hülkenberg potentially in the end there. And it'd be interesting to see that viewpoint. Oh, look, it's Gasly. It is Gasly that comes across. So Gasly's coming across right in the middle of that picture there, where the loose tyres now bouncing. Gasly in the Alpine comes across. That forces Albon really towards Tsunoda, and you just saw from Yuki's onboard, the margin he had on the outside of Alex Albon was so minimal at the best of times. All it needed was Gasly, who's in front of us on the right-hand side now, to just inch across, which there we go, just a slight movement and boof.
Go just stop where you can.
The frustration in the exhale for Alex Albon, and this was Kevin Magnussen putting the pressure on the Mercedes, but we look back from him now, and this is going to be the crash from another angle.
It is an ambitious attempt from Tsunoda. There was barely any room there, but in the end, it's an unlucky one for Albon and for Tsunoda, who end up in a heap. I don't think there was much Albon could do. Squeezed by Gasly. I don't blame Gasly for that either. He's now the car that we can see on the left of the Mercedes there, now blocked by Russell. Gasly doesn't know that there's a very opportunistic driver on the outside of the driver that's on the outside of him. That's a sort of 3 into 2, bit of bad luck, and Yuki fully launched there backwards. Doing a great shot at everyone else heading into turn 1, wouldn't he?
Yuki Tsunoda out of the race along with Alex Albon. We remarked that Sergio Perez was up 5 places from where he started the Grand Prix. I can tell you the stewards are investigating a false start for Sergio Perez, which might explain the 5 positions gained. The Sao Paulo Grand Prix is underway, and they move from the line. Good reaction time for George Russell. The lead for George Russell. The Mercedes man gets by. Pierre Gasly, Esteban Ocon forces his way past the 2 V-carbs, or at least he's trying to. Yuki Tsunoda hangs on to 3rd position as Lewis Hamilton is all over the curb. Here is Oscar Piastri toughing it out with Fernando Alonso. Alonso in the green Aston Martin, and now you've got Piastri moving out of the wheel tracks. They're on the intermediate tyres. They're looking for a way by. This is to turn number 4. This is a chance for Fernando Alonso. Wide moment now for Liam Lawson. Allows Alonso to keep the place on the way in, but Piastri kept it pinned on the way out, and he's able to go past the 2-time world champion. George Russell is the race leader. Then it's Lando Norris. Yuki Tsunoda is in third. Esteban Ocon put pressure on, but couldn't force his way by. Then it's Charles Leclerc up a place, Liam Lawson down a position, and Piastri got past Alonso.
Now two former rivals, Verstappen and Hamilton, going at it as Verstappen's trying to claw back some positions there. That Liam Lawson move on Fernando Alonso, that's not going to be liked by the Spaniard. There might be more words exchanged between those two when this one's over, but now side by side, the Sauber on the Haas. Ollie Behrman trying to hold on that position.
And round goes Checo. Sergio Perez spins round the Red Bull, keeps the engine going, and he will rejoin if he can find a gear, and he does so. His teammate, meanwhile, up 6 places to 11th position. Norris, again, cannot convert into leading lap 1 of the contest. He's on board with George Russell. You can see second phase, just going to get that drive and going to get the lead. First place for the driver who won this Grand Prix back in 2022. But Lando Norris has regrouped. You have live pictures on the left-hand side of your screen. That's how they made their way by. Hinch, take us away with Max Verstappen.
Well, an absolutely phenomenal launch. Bit of a slow getaway for the Haas right in front of him. He's going by the Williams now. As we get to this first brake zone, you're at the mercy of the cars in front of you. You're not sure what opportunities are going to open up. You just kind of have to play it by ear, see where the gap is, and then, as Senna famously says, you got to go for it. And this is that outside move in 3. He used to such devastating effect back in 2016, just hanging it out there. And there you go, is that spin from Checo.
We're underway in Las Vegas and racing to turn number 1 with George Russell holding the lead. The battle is between Gasly and Sainz, and they open the door for Charles Leclerc to go from 4th, potentially to 2nd. There's no grip on line. Ferrari versus Ferrari, and around the outside to take P2 goes the man 4th on the grid. Charles Leclerc roars up to 2nd. George Russell holds the lead. Down goes Sainz, down goes Gasly. Verstappen is still ahead of Lando Norris, having left the line, but it's Russell P1.
It was very close behind as well with Norris. There's Yuki Tsunoda in there with Oscar Piastri as well. But crucial for Ferrari, they've got ahead of Gasly, and that might allow a bit of a buffer back to the main contenders behind. Verstappen stuck behind Gasly for now.
Incredibly close, as you referenced there, Julian. It looked like Max was almost in contact at that first corner, and tentative driving from all, just highlighting how low the grip is as these cars are now fat with fuel.
It is worth bearing in mind this is the heaviest they'll be. Look at how high speed, look at how close it is between RB and Haas. That's Magnussen up against Liam Lawson, car number 30 getting ahead, nothing between them.
Yeah, 2 of the toughest racers on the grid going wheel to wheel through 10, 11 and 12. It's a scary stuff around here.
2 positions lost for Kevin Magnussen, position gained for Liam Lawson, that's for 13th. Meanwhile, let's have a look at the speed of that Ferrari. Charles Leclerc, who's won the last 2 Grand Prix, that he stood on the top step for, from 4th on the grid up to 2nd, and now finds himself very close, as to Magnussen and Lawson, still glued together, but for how much longer can they get through where Colapinto crashed yesterday? Just, and there'll be a huge run for Fernando Alonso. These 2 refuse to give it up. Amazing brawling. At the front, it's Russell, Leclerc, Sainz, Gasly and Verstappen. In the mid-pack, it's anyone's game. To the inside goes Sergio Perez. That's a move on Alex Albon to claim 16th. And the Qatar Grand Prix is underway. George Russell launches off the line. He'll have to chop across Max Verstappen, who's got good momentum. He's got the inside line. He's got the lead of the Grand Prix. Lando Norris fighting on the inside as well. Lando's going past the pair of them. How did he do that? He didn't do that because Verstappen managed to get his elbows out. Our pole sitter falls to 3rd. It's Verstappen and Norris at the head of the field, with Max Verstappen going wheel to wheel with his rival for the title early this year. But it's P2 on the grid. That penalty avenged immediately as Verstappen gains a place. Russell loses 2 positions. Norris gains a place as well, and off into the background one of the Haas's, surely of Kevin Magnussen.
Yeah, it was all happening there. Alonso was a little bit premature with his start, so expect him to pick up a penalty.
I think it was Lewis Hamilton from 6th, just ahead of Alonso potentially, that did that. It hasn't really helped either of them out. They're 8th and 9th on the grid. Either way, brilliant from Max Verstappen. Inside of Russell, held George to the outside line as the safety car is deployed. Lando had a chance to come through, but he had the inside again, Max, and he's so clinical from that position.
Ocon and Colapinto stranded at turn 1. You now see the pictures, and they are out at the first turn. The drivers who started at the back of the field going no further than the first lap of the Grand Prix.
Well, I know one thing, Colapinto will be hoping that was more Ocon than him, because he's arrived in a flurry of pure talent, speed and performance, but as we see that puncture on the back of Hülkenberg's tyre, he doesn't want to be the cause of that incident at turn 1.
Absolutely not. These guys were 18th, 19th and 20th on the grid. Let's have a look at the start again. So as Hamilton doesn't move off the line, and I think he moved before the lights went out and then had to stop, and that's why he gets a woeful start and has dropped down to 9th position. Further back, there's a V-Cup going around the outside. Hülkenberg's having a moment, and he clips Ocon and Colapinto, who were both trying to go around his outside.
Yeah, so that looks like it was Hülkenberg was the catalyst, gone into Ocon, and then Ocon's gone into Colapinto. And apologies, I called it as Alonso jumping the start. I think you're right, it was Hamilton.
And maybe this is why 19 cars started on the medium tyre. Let's have a look from this angle. You might see Hülkenberg further back, having his own moment. Was he already touching Ocon or not? And actually, Colapinto is the victim in that.
Phew, I hear him saying. Not good for Williams, but nonetheless, he's saying not the catalyst, so on board with Ocon.
Yeah,
we're going to be watching as the right side to see Hülkenberg.
It's right in front of us is Hülkenberg. Ocon's going to dive round the outside at the first corner. And Hulk's just got absolutely no grip, so he's already locked up the right front. He's got Alex Albon just ahead, and he's nervous about hitting the Williams. Then he's having to turn, and that causes the spin. Let's have a look. So he's on the brakes. There's Albon. Oh, he's got no grip on that hard tyre. So it was a bold call from Haas, trying to get him onto something different.
And the season finale is underway. Good launch off the line for the two McLarens. Car stalling on the grid, dropping down there is Yuki Tsunoda on a crash at turn 1. Contact, massive contact. Oscar Piastri making contact with the Red Bull as they flash through. It's Lando Norris with the lead. Then Carlos Sainz up to 3rd goes Pierre Gasly. Down to in 4th goes George Russell. But a dramatic moment as Piastri and Verstappen come together.
Yeah, Max Verstappen, brilliant getaway off the line, made quick work of Carlos Sainz, and then rather than taking the cautious approach into turn 1, he sent it. I don't think that Piastri knew he was coming.
Not sure he did, as we see a battle now with one of the Haas. That's Magnussen trying to go by Perez up the inside into 6.
And he gets the move done. Brave on the brakes in his final start in Formula 1. And round he goes. Perez spins. A wild opening lap of the Grand Prix. And the man who might be leaving Red Bull tumbles to the back of the field. Piastri, who's finished every single Grand Prix this year, finds himself at the back. The Sauber duking with the other Sauber there. It's been a terrible getaway for Bottas. It's been mayhem out there. Norris, Sainz, Gasly, Russell, Hülkenberg, the top 5. Max Verstappen in 11th. Sergio Perez at the back. And Piastri, who had contact with Verstappen, running in 19th.
Yeah, and there was some debris came off a car on the run down into turn 9. So let's just keep an eye out whether that warrants a virtual safety car. We know what happened in Qatar a week before.
Yeah, it's interesting to see the onboard from Verstappen. There's that big orange curb that's right at the apex. As we see now, Perez stopped on the racetrack, sector 3.
Such a shame for Sergio Perez. He would have wanted to have a barnstorming final drive. Is that the moment that his Formula 1 career comes to an end, as his teammate Max Verstappen goes by at the exact moment the virtual safety car is deployed, and he knows it, he backs out of it and cedes the position to Liam Lawson, so they'll be looking at that. And Sergio Perez's time with the Red Bull team might be over, but he climbs out of the car. A disappointing moment, having spun earlier in the lap. That is it in Formula 1 2024 for Perez. The virtual safety car is out to neutralise the race, and a tough season ends in retirement for the Mexican driver.
Yep, and we now know that Verstappen's given a 10-second penalty for this contact. So it takes care of Sainz, nice and clean, sees the gap, sends his car, and not quite alongside as he go through the apex. And Stewart's quick decision, we've always been asking for that, so a very clear decision there that he was the cause of this incident.
Yeah, and let's see that on board now. If there's an incident, maybe there's an issue with the rear going in, does he have a correction? He just doesn't quite get the car turned.
I was all the way up the inside before the crash.
All the way might be a stretch, but you know, he was there. Piastri gave him room. Piastri knew he was there, but it wasn't quite enough as the passing car. Responsibility still on him. On board from Sainz now. He had a front row seat to this. Yeah, he just pushes a little wide, doesn't he, David?
Yeah, unfortunate tire-to-tire contact that sent him round. So on board with Oscar. Not quite as good a getaway as his teammate. Comes across to get a nice run through. You can see he opened the steering to give him some space.
Yep, we will be champion.
He doesn't say much, but there's a bit of ironic humor there behind that comment, and the disappointment for all the team back at base.
Further along, this was on the first lap, super late braking move from Magnussen, and then the contact between Bottas and Perez is how Perez went round. Perez would then lose drive from the car and park up. Bottas has been penalised with a 10-second time penalty for that moment. This is Charles Leclerc choosing his own adventure and getting up to P8.
We are P8.
For those wondering why Ferrari didn't elect to start from pit lane, that's why. Had he started from pit lane, he would not have been in a position to capitalize on all this chaos on the first lap. Here's Valtteri just getting into the back of the Red Bull of Checo.